Hey, it's Hadas. Let me show you NoamAI. The first thing I want to show you is the platform. You are looking at Living Torah, Living History, and questions that we've already curated. They change, they rotate to help prompt you into questions that you might ask. Here are example questions that you can ask. First, what is Torah? So let's put it up here. What is the Torah? You can type your questions in, or you can actually click on this, and you click Ask. So up will come an answer, but not just any answer. What we're giving you here is a framework, because very often a question leads to a question. And also, when you're asking a question and you don't know context, it really doesn't benefit you as much as it does when it's in context. So let's take a look at this answer. The Torah, meaning instruction or teaching, refers to the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible. It's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Also in Hebrew, it's Breshit, Shemot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, and Devarim. It is described as God's covenant relationship to Moses at Mount Sinai and forming the foundation of all Jewish law. Jewish law and every law that's in Jewish law is rooted in the Torah, in the instructions of Moshe. Forming the foundation of Jewish law, ethics, and the identity of the Jewish people, the nation of the covenant of God. So Jewish law, ethics, and identity. And then we have Devarim, Deuteronomy 30. The Torah emphasizes its closeness and accessibility. It's not in heaven, nor beyond the sea, but it's very near to you, in your mouth and in your heart, so you may do it. This shows that the Torah is both divine wisdom and a practical guide for divine living, not an abstract text removed from human life. Also, we see that Jewish tradition teaches that the Torah is the beginning of an ongoing dialogue between God and Israel. Now we look into Jewish life and tradition. In Jewish life, the Torah is the heart of communal worship, study, and memory. Every week, a Torah portion is read publicly in the synagogue, completing the entire Torah annually. Torah study is a lifelong practice, connecting the written words with commentary from the Mishnah, the Talmud, the Midrash, what we call the oral Torah. Torah shapes life cycle events and festivals. For Christians, these same books are known as the Pentateuch and are part of the Old Testament. However, Jews view the Torah as the first and most sacred section of the complete Tanakh, which is the Torah, the prophets, and the writings. So we have Hebrew words. So you start learning what those key words are in the questions that you ask. So in this question, what is the Torah? Of course, Torah, and what it means, instruction or guidance. Tanakh is an acronym for Torah, Nevi'im, prophets, and Ketuvim, writings. The mitzvah is a commandment, and there happen to be 613 mitzvot in the Torah. Then we have how it's relevant in Jewish texts. Now, there's a text called Pirkei Avot, one of my favorite things to teach. So Moses received the Torah from Sinai and transmitted it to Joshua. Joshua transmitted it to the elders. The elders transmitted it to the prophets, and the prophets to the men of the great assembly. Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers, is a section of the Mishnah focused on ethical teachings. This text highlights the chain of transmission, and that is because the Torah says we are to teach our children from generation to generation. And so the first thing we learn is how the Torah, how the teachings of Moshe have been transmitted from generation to generation, forming an eternal bond with Hashem. Here we have the Midrash Tachuma Kitavo. The Torah precedes the creation of the world. The poetic Midrash suggests that the Torah was God's blueprint for creation itself, his divine wisdom or plan. It doesn't mean Torah existed as a scroll like it does today, but that its principles were embedded into creation. So in asking one simple question, what is the Torah? All of a sudden, it leads to this curiosity to look even deeper, to look at the Hebrew. Then we have lexicon commentary. Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch explains that the Torah comes from the root yirah, meaning to teach or to guide, but also to aim and to shoot toward a target, a goal. This imagery suggests the Torah is divine instruction that helps us aim our lives toward God's purposes, to hit the mark ethically and spiritually. Very often we've heard the saying, a sin is when we miss the mark. So the more we study the Torah, the more we hit the mark, right? So it's kind of cool. Also, if you are a Christian, we have in here cross references. And that means we are going to go to a place in the New Testament or in another source that connects to the question you've asked. The answer is going to be shaped in the Torah, but it's going to connect to what you are reading in your sources. So here we have Matthew 5:17, where Jesus said, "Do not think I've come to abolish the Torah." The English says the law. But the truth is, it's not that word at all. Do not think I've come to abolish the Torah or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. This is very important. If you want to understand what fulfillment means, you need to understand what the Torah and the prophets are. Then we have Romans. So then the law is holy. Again, this is the word Torah. The Torah is holy, and the commandments is holy, righteous and good. These passages show that early Christianity was deeply engaged with Torah learning. We want you to dive deeper, so we ask you questions. And these are questions that play on the original question you ask. So based on whatever question you are asking, you're going to get this. And then we're going to ask you, what do you want to do next? You will have related sources, videos, articles, groups, and events. So this is the framework. Now let's say you want to study a specific topic. So you create that project, and here it will be. Right now we are integrating a Ask Your Rabbi. Rabbis are an amazing wealth of knowledge on principles in life, wisdom for everyday life, and knowing the why behind the action. About 150 rabbis helped formulate the answers to the questions you might ask about Shabbat, tithing, giving. Then we have exploring Hebrew text. This is a game changer, a real game changer. We are integrating the world's most advanced Hebrew language learning model. You won't have to go searching into different sources to figure out what the Hebrew is. You're just going to be able to ask, what is the word for Jerusalem in Hebrew? What does it really mean? What are some of the mysteries of it? So the more you ask, the more it's going to curate information specifically for you. And then you have articles, you have videos, etc. So that's exploring the Hebrew text. What about current events? So this is the news. You have news sources from a lot of different places. You will be able to decide whether you like this or you don't. You like it, it stays. And then you get more from that source. All right, Tehran preparing for its next confrontation with Israel. I don't like this one. So I click down, and guess what? You don't have to look at that source of news. You're curating your own sources for news. Plus, notice these dots. Here, you're able to remove sources, silence a source, save it, or remove the article. All right. So that's news. Now, this week's Torah portion is Kitavo. So we get a little insight. It's about the first fruits. That's the big thing about this Torah portion. And we get the key Hebrew words. We get relevant passages, lexicon. But this area right here is current related events. A lot of people wonder, what is the current event taking place in the world now, especially in Israel, that connects us to the week's Torah portion? If you live in Israel, if you study the Torah portion every week and you're up to date on current events, you are going to find there is always a connection. Always. So here, in light of current events, particularly the ongoing conflict involving Israel and Hamas, the themes of Kitavo resonate strongly with the Jewish community. The emphasis on gratitude of the land and the importance of unity in facing challenges reflects a collective resilience. Many Jews draw parallels between biblical concept of covenant and the contemporary struggle for security and peace in Israel. Powerful. And even here, in cross references, you are seeing parallels, particularly in the New Testament, where themes of gratitude and covenant are also emphasized. For instance, the act of giving thanks before meals, seen in the Gospels, mirrors the Jewish practice of offering first fruits. Both traditions recognize the importance of acknowledging God's provision in their lives. So the more we grow the platform, the more you will see videos, articles, and groups in every question. So here you can share your chat, you can rename it, you can add it to projects. So let's say you want to add something you studied, you typed it, and it was outside of your folder. You can just drop it into your folder right there, or you can delete it. All right? So I think that we have covered everything. I know you're super excited by now. So let's be excited together, and let's make NoamAI happen together. Thank you. Bye-bye.